So if you haven't heard, D&D Beyond and Legends of Runeterra collaborated and released a 3-part adventure that takes place in the League of Legends universe. For reasons unknown, the adventure is being deleted sometime in August, but plenty of people have taken this opportunity to set up League of Legends campaigns based on that adventure. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to add some more League of Legends stat blocks to this playlist and see if you guys enjoy them. I will be talking about the Dark Tides of Bilgewater adventure, so consider this your spoiler warning. During the story of the Bilgewater adventure, you end up working for / meeting either Misfortune or Gangplank, who if you didn't know was actually voiced by Matthew frickin' Mercer, so that's really neat. The adventure takes you on a tour of a completely pirate-run city full of opportunity. However, before you get too excited about treasure maps and booty, you should know that an event called the Harrowing looms on the horizon. During the Harrowing, the dark mists from a place called the Shadow Isles start to reanimate the dead and tries to kill all living creatures. So during this event, you have to figure out how to stop it so you can return to your Captain Jack lifestyle. Like I mentioned earlier, you end up meeting champions from League of Legends like Misfortune and Gangplank. However, a third champion is barely even mentioned, and in my opinion she's probably more relevant to the Harrowing than the other two. This champion being who this entire video is about, Illaoi. Illaoi is the head priestess of a god named Nagakabouros, also known as the Bearded Lady and many other names. Illaoi explains that Nagakabouros wants everything to be in motion, and if you want something, you better do whatever it takes to get it. Nagakabouros wants you to accomplish your dreams and earn your destiny. Followers of this religion believe that every spirit was born to serve the universe, and the best way to fulfill a personal destiny is to pursue one's inherent desires. Nagakabouros is a god that prefers action over words, and has little patience for weakness or failure. One of the Buru religion's rites is called the Test of Nagakabouros, in which an individual submits to vicious physical assaults from the god's spectral tentacles. Partakers who fail perish, but those who survive have demonstrated they possess the favor of the Mother of Serpents. Illaoi is quite famous for using this test. One example is a severely injured Gangplank who was missing an arm and had no weapons at the time, was taken to Illaoi's temple after being blown up by Misfortune. Gangplank whined and complained that he wanted to be king, so Illaoi tested him to see if he was worthy of Nagakabouros' help, by beating him nearly to death to see if he had enough willpower to get up and get his destiny. That should give you a generalized idea on how serious Illaoi is when acting out her goddess's will. Both Nagakabouros and Illaoi despise undead creatures and anything that would change your destiny. If you are supposed to die but somehow cheat death or undo that death, then you are an abomination and need to be returned to the grave. Because of these beliefs and practices, I found it peculiar that Illaoi did not receive a stat block or even a side mission in the Dark Tides of Bilgewater adventure. At the end of the adventure, it informs the DM that their players may want to travel to the Shadow Isles where the Dark Mists came from, to investigate or fight epic undead creatures. It tells the DM that their players may consult the acolytes in the Temple of Nagakabouros for more information about the Shadow Isles. So I think this would be the perfect opportunity to introduce Illaoi to the characters, if not way earlier in the adventure. But now that I've got you up to speed on why I wanted to make Illaoi, let's talk a little more about her story. Here's what we know. She chose to come to Bilgewater to fight off the Harrowing and convert people to worship her god. She wields a giant metal sphere called the Eye of God. When she was young, she was self-conscious because she was tall and large, but as she grew up, she turned that into confidence. She said that when she moves, people should know to get out of her way. Her and Gangplank used to hook up. She has no ill will toward Misfortune at the moment, and we have no real information about her personality or background, just that she seems very confident and strong-willed. Oh, and did I forget to mention she can summon freaking hentai tentacles? I mean, they're technically the arms of her goddess, but I had to get that joke in here at least once. Because of the overall lack of background information we have on Illaoi, I'd probably just roleplay her as a religious MMA fighter. For her stat block, I looked at the pre-made stat blocks for Misfortune and Gangplank and put her in the same ballpark as those two. However, I personally think Illaoi could take either of them in a fight. For her first and most obvious feature, we have given her the ability to summon the arms of her goddess as spectral tentacles, just like she does in her lore and in League of Legends. The difficulty with converting her League of Legends abilities to a 5th edition format is trying to keep the overall bookwork to a minimum. In League of Legends, a computer program is doing all the physics and number keeping for you. In D&D, the DM has to take the place of that computer and has a lot to keep track of. So I did my best to make this iteration of Illaoi easy for a DM to run, but still feel like the brutal juggernaut that she is. Because she doesn't really wear armor, I wanted her to feel like this powerful priestess. Nagakabouros has blessed her with protection. She gets to add her wisdom modifier to her AC, and she has resistance to non-magical attacks. For her tentacle ability, I have allowed her to summon 1 tentacle per turn as a bonus action anywhere she can see within 60 feet of her. These tentacles have 1 hit point and 12 AC. The first time she does damage to a creature each turn, these tentacles will attack any creature near them for 2d8 force damage, and she can only have 3 of these tentacles up at a time. This gives her a lot of uniqueness where she can attack creatures all over the place, and keeps the party on their toes. In League of Legends, it's usually in your best interest to stay away from the tentacles and kill them when you can. The same is probably true here. I think this tentacle ability is pretty simple and not too different from her source material, but overall let me know what you guys think about this one. Moving on, we have given her a multi-attack that lets her make 2 slam attacks or her infamous soul pull attack. This soul pull attack is a little different from how it's portrayed in League of Legends. In League, she rips the soul out of a creature's body and can damage that creature by damaging their soul. She also heals from damaging the soul or the champion with her attacks and abilities. The reason I did not allow her to pull the soul from a creature is that adds another layer of bookwork for the DM and the players to keep track of. So instead, I have allowed her to make a ranged spell attack on a creature. If a creature is hit with this attack, they must make a Constitution saving throw or become tethered to Illaoi for 1 turn. While tethered to Illaoi, that creature can only move at half its normal movement, and whenever Illaoi or her tentacles damage the tethered creature, she regains hit points equal to half the damage she deals. This way, the DM does not have to keep track of a soul and calculate different damage and so on. I feel like this is just easier to explain and implement into an encounter. Now, we have her legendary actions. The idea of motion comes up a lot in her goddess's ideals, and she has very few ranged options in a fight, so I've allowed her to move up to half her movement and take half damage from opportunity attacks during this movement to give her some gap closing potential and survivability. Lastly, both Misfortune and Gangplank got their ultimate abilities as legendary actions in their pre-made stat blocks, so I thought it would only make sense that Illaoi gets her ultimate ability as well. And actually, this was one of the easier abilities to design for her. She slams the ground and all creatures within 30 feet around her take a little bit of force damage. Then she can summon 1 temporary tentacle for each person that took damage this way, and each tentacle gets to make 1 attack on those creatures. She can only summon 6 of these temporary tentacles, and they disappear after they attack. The reason I say this ability was easy to design is the characters need to make 2 saving throws or take damage. It's that simple. Because the tentacles disappear after they attack, you don't have to worry about keeping them on the map or worrying about their AC and HP, so. However, this ability has the potential to deal a ton of damage, because if there are 6 creatures, then each creature could end up taking 12d8 damage, plus 2d10 more if they are all grouped up within 10 feet of Illaoi. You have to remember, the tentacles only have a 10-foot attack range, so if all these creatures are surrounding Illaoi, then that's going to be 6 tentacles slapping down on top of them, each doing 2d8 damage. If this does happen, it's because your party has decided to try and surround Illaoi, and ignore the fact that her tentacles deal area of effect damage, so it's kind of on them if it happens that way. In my mind, the first time that these characters try to surround Illaoi and she uses this ability, they'll probably learn their lesson. And to quote Illaoi, "Broken bones teach better lessons." Now I should probably mention at this point, Illaoi can be used as a kind of boss creature or, big battle. Remember, she's a priestess to her god above all else. She could not be there to just kill the party or hunt them down and fight them. She could just test them to see if that party is worthy of the blessing of Nagakabouros or the assistance per se. But with that, I think I've made a pretty good iteration of the Kraken Priestess, and I hope she finds her way into your D&D adventures. Thank you all so much for watching, and let me know what you might want to see next. And because the Shadow Isles are a pretty relevant part of the League of Legends D&D adventure, I should let you know that I have already made a Mordekaiser video that I will leave in the description below for you to check out. Because I can already see the potential of a D&D party traveling to the Shadow Isles to take on Mordekaiser himself. But, till next time, that mage, sailing away. Bye-bye.